First, I make no apologies for ending America's longest war. This, I think, is a signal achievement of the president's. The fact that we will not have another generation of Americans fighting and dying in Afghanistan.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken stated that he would not apologize for ending the war in Afghanistan, which resulted in the deaths of 13 Americans and left the Taliban in control. In an interview with the New York Times, Blinken defended the withdrawal ahead of the Biden administration's departure from office.
I think that's an important achievement in and of itself. It's also actually strengthened our position around the world, and I see that every single day. Our adversaries would have liked nothing more than for us to have remained bogged down in Afghanistan.
He responded to a question about the election by expressing uncertainty over whether foreign policy issues influenced the outcome.
So, again, I'm not at all sure that the election turned on any one or even collection of foreign policy issues. Most elections don't. But leaving that aside, Americans don't want us in conflict. They don't want us in war. We went through 20 years where we had hundreds of thousands of Americans deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. People were tired of that.
Blinken emphasized that Americans are tired of prolonged conflicts and do not want the country engaged in war.
When President Biden was vice president, he presided over the end of our engagement in Iraq in terms of the war there and ending that part of the conflict. As president, he ended the longest war in our history, Afghanistan.
Blinken noted that President Biden had overseen the end of U.S. engagement in Iraq during his vice presidency and later ended the war in Afghanistan as president. During the interview, the interviewer asked Blinken how this perceived failure affected America's credibility on the global stage.
How did that early failure in Afghanistan really change the sense, do you think, that President Biden really had this under control, that you had it under control? Did it damage America's credibility?
Blinken responded by reaffirming that he would not apologize for ending America's longest war. He described the conclusion of the war as a significant achievement by President Biden.
You've left a country that is in control of the Taliban, where the stated dream of spreading democracy has been completely upended. Women have borne the brunt of that. You know, there's restrictions on their movements, restrictions on even their voices, what jobs they can take. I mean, in every possible way, the manner in which this was done and the state in which Afghanistan has been left could not have been what the United States desired.
The interviewer pointed out that the Taliban has since made life much harder for women in Afghanistan. The interviewer added that the outcome and the manner of the U.S. withdrawal could not have been what the United States intended. Blinken acknowledged
there was never going to be an easy way to extricate ourselves from 20 years of war. I think the question was, what were we going to do moving forward from the withdrawal? We also had to learn lessons from Afghanistan itself. Here at the State Department, one of the things that I ordered almost immediately was an after-action review to try to make sure that we understood what had we gotten right, also what had we gotten wrong in the withdrawal itself. I brought back senior diplomats to do that. We produced a lengthy report with about 40 recommendations. We followed through on most of them to make sure that we're in a better position to deal with a crisis, to deal with an evacuation like Afghanistan, and we are. And in fact, we've actually put into practice many of those recommendations in subsequent crises that we had to face, whether it was in Lebanon, whether it was in Israel, whether it was in Sudan. All of that we brought to bear based on lessons that we've learned from Afghanistan.
According to the Washington Post's David Ignatius, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan even offered to resign after the controversial exit. Sullivan reportedly expressed concerns about the operation, but acknowledged that it would have been difficult regardless of how it was executed. He explained that ending a long war like Afghanistan, with its complex dependencies, would be inevitably challenging.